I have Dollop tour dates to announce for the year 2024 of our Lord J-Town. We have our 10th anniversary show coming up in Los Angeles on April 27th. Guests are Karen Kilgariff and James Adomian. And then we are going to Australia, starting on May 13th in Perth, May 16th in Sydney, May 18th in Brisbane, May 20th in Canberra, May 22nd in Melbourne, and May 24th in Adelaide. You can get your tickets at dolloppodcast.com.
Unleash the magic of the sea with Orca's Our Shared Future, where science, art, and pop culture meet in celebration of our relationship with these fascinating and awe-inspiring ocean giants. The exhibition is now open at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. Plan your visit today at dmns.org.
Hello, you're listening to The Dollop. This is a bi-weekly podcast that goes out internationally.
Oh my God.
That is about the country of America and its history. Each week I read a story to my friend
Gareth Reynolds, who has no idea what the topic is about. Good God, that was an hour.
Thank you, Gary. We'll be right back.
All right.
God, you want a little hit of dude?
I'll do one bottle.
People say this is funny.
Not Gary Gareth. Dave, okay.
Someone or something is tickling people.
Is it for fun?
And this is not going to become the Tickling Podcast.
Okay.
You are Queen Fakey of Made Up Town.
All hail Queen Shit of Liesville. A bunch of religious virgins go to mingle
And do what?
pray.
Hi, Gary.
No.
Nicely done, my friend. Is there anything else?
No.
May 26th.
Now, see, that one's bullshit.
1978.
1978. Mm-hmm. Okay. Sorry.
Well, that date's got to be wrong.
1978?
Action Park, one of the first water parks in the United States of America, opened in Vernon, New Jersey, on the grounds of the Mountain Creek Ski Resort.
Oh, boy. This already, I'm worried.
The park was the brainchild of Great American Recreation. That's a company.
Sure.
They specialize in.
What do they work in?
They specialize in Great American Recreation.
Oh, that's a very telling name.
Yeah. In order to keep the turnstiles going in the summer, the company began offering seasonal attractions. In 1977, an alpine slide was added to the mountain, which allowed riders to fly down the snow-free slopes on sleds controlled by nothing more than a handbrake. The ride was incredibly popular, so park owners decided to expand the summer offerings the following year, and Action Park was born.
Okay.
In 1979, additional slides appeared, along with a deep water swimming pool and then a large wave pool.
Love a good wave pool.
Fuck yeah, bro. New attractions continued to appear every summer in the 1980s when Great American Recreation was experimenting with slide design.
It's a fun experiment.
Yep.
I mean, honestly, could your life be better than being a slide tester?
I mean, come on.
You know?
Come on.
It's like Tom Hanks and Big right there.
Yeah, it really is.
Yay! That one was real fun.
This one's good. Let's do it again.
It's a good one. I'm going to need to slide down a few more times to give you my final evaluation.
Hey, no line. The worst thing about a water park is standing waiting in line while you're cold.
Yeah.
You're freezing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the piss.
Motor World was the other major attraction, introduced later and built on unused land across Route 94. Park guests could unleash their inner Mario Andretti on a go-kart track, open-wheel racers, or tanks. I'm sure not real tanks.
Okay, because that's crazy.
Real tanks.
That would be...
That'd be the best.
I'd see where we were headed immediately in this.
I could see a theme park doing that in Russia.
Oh, yeah,
Just
totally.
actual tanks.
Come shoot bear with tank. Come shoot live bear with tank.
Or shoot Ivan.
Do whatever you like.
He's drunk.
Here.
Ivan's so drunk.
Yeah, the bear's too shit-faced to get tank shot today. Bear drank too much.
Also on the Motor World side, there was a brewery.
Okay, so just do a little math.
Yeah.
So we got the water park. We got live your dreams as a race car driver and drive tanks. Who knows what those are?
Yeah.
And then alcohol.
Alcohol on that side. Alcohol on the side with the
alcohol's
cars.
right next to the car side.
Right near the car side.
All right.
I mean, why not?
What could go wrong?
Action Park was a pioneer in the microbrewery fad and got a brewer from Germany to come over and make beer. There you go.
Sure. Sounds fine. Where are we? We're in
New Jersey.
New
Jersey.
Okay, right.
The park continued to grow over the years with approximately 75 different rides. At its peak, the water park overshadowed the ski resort. Great American Recreation promoted Action Park with simple but effective TV commercials. Show people having a great time. Jingles such as, "There's nothing in the world like Action Park."
How are you going to get that out of your head?
And the action never stops at Action Park.
Oh, wow.
We
have a park at Action Park.
That's good.
Yeah.
There's water. It's a water park.
There's drunk drivers across the street at Action Park.
Get a tank.
Get a tank.
The ads were played endlessly on TV and radio stations in the 80s and 90s. The commercials for Action Park marketed as an essential summer experience for reckless youths.
For reckless youths?
Well, it was very much like fucking go crazy.
But they're advertising to reckless youths?
Well, they didn't say reckless youths, but the way it was,
Come be a reckless youth at Action Park.
It was basically like, go fucking crazy at Action Park.
Come have spray paint and shoot your friends at Action Park.
Holy shit, Action Park. What the fuck?
Get drunk on moonshine, fuck your girlfriend's friend at Action Park.
Oh my God, you're all gonna die at Action Park. Attendance grew each year as the crowds enjoyed unique rides. If something looked like it might please the crowds, Great American Recreation was not afraid to try it.
That's not a good sign.
And they kept pushing the envelope. The daring ride designs were poorly engineered and had little regard for safety.
That's great. So, we're just headed towards some deaths.
Underage teenage staff were often disinterested in enforcing safety guidelines, and alcohol was distributed a bit too freely.
It sounds like TSA.
With the
airport security.
That's what I thought you meant.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Well, because they just did a test this week. Did you see that? Yeah, okay. 95, they failed 95%.
95%. So that's 5%. Catching 5% of terrorists is good.
That's good. It's mainly lotion terrorism.
Yeah, Action Park is basically the TSA of...
All right.
After Action Park opened, doctors in 4 counties reported summertime increases in ankle sprains, broken bones, bloody elbows, and missing teeth. Despite the injuries, little action was taken by state regulators. Action Park was a great advertisement for the state of New Jersey and a revenue generator. Most everyone was having a good time, and nobody wanted to disrupt it.
Well, if you kind of think a little bit about the culture of Jersey, like as it is now, I'm sure that in this time it wasn't that different. And, this is a class of people who take pride in being a little shittier, right?
I don't know. Vicky just got mad at you. The teen staff knew of all the places that one could get stoned and or drunk and hide from supervisors.
It's great.
Most were undertrained and often under the influence, so they would drink while they were working.
Great summer job. What a great gig.
They cared very little for enforcing the park rules and safety requirements. Height and weight-based restrictions were often ignored.
That's a problem.
Action Park was fined by the state for letting underage employees run rides.
Jesus.
Jim Desai was a security director for the park. He got the job at the age of 21.
Wow.
After having worked at the park for just 2 years.
Wow. This is not good.
What do you mean?
That's not good.
It sounds fine.
I don't even know where we're headed, but I got a bad feel. I'm going to be a fucking 80s cop movie. I got a bad feeling about this.
So this is what Jim had to say. A 21-year-old guy in charge of security. Mm-hmm. Action Park was extreme before extreme existed, extremely dumb. Numerous bars and beer stands scattered strategically around the park could keep one in an alcohol-induced state of bravado practically all day. Combine that with a terrain which allowed for a lot of mischief to go unnoticed, and you've got the makings for, well, a lot of action. Action Park attendees were affectionately referred to as Gumbies because you bounced off the ground when you hit. I don't know anyone who grew up in Vernon in the 70s or 80s who either didn't work or get injured there.
Jesus Christ. Why were they called Gumbies? Because they would help you get back up?
They would just bounce off shit, yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Needless to say.
So you just have an enclosed park with just a ton of shit-faced people.
Basically, yeah. And no one...
And nobody gives a fuck, and the security's run by a 21-year-old who really is very funny. You can tell from his...
And the rides are shoddy and horribly put together.
Yeah, okay.
Needless to say, there were a lot of injuries at Action Park.
Yeah.
In 1986, the Herald reported the previous year's accident toll at Action Park. More than 110, including 45 head injuries and 10 fractures.
Jesus.
Those were just the reported injuries. There were many more. The park got into a lot of trouble with the state for not reporting accidents.
Sounds like Accident Park is a better name.
Okay. Despite this, Action Park, unlike other amusement parks in the state, at the time was fined just once between 1979 and 1986 for not following procedure. But the park was cited numerous times. The Herald said this was not the case for other amusement parks, which would be fined for the first offense. So Action Park was getting special treatment.
Yeah, why is Action Park getting the fucking...
Because it's Action Park!
Because it's got such a catchy jingle?
Mm-hmm. You want to shut down that jingle? You want to shut it down?
Are people just too... Is it just become an institution at this point?
Yeah, I also think it was a huge moneymaker. I think that it brought in a lot of tax money, and I think that
yeah, well, like
it was an advertisement, like I said.
There you go.
Not like Jersey has a lot of stuff that people are like, I want to go to that.
Yeah,
sorry, Jersey.
Except for the STD clinic.
There's so many Bruce Springsteen listeners upset right now.
Yeah.
What made Action Park different from other amusement parks was the control that patrons had over their ride experience.
Sorry? That's not a good thing. I've never heard of anything quite like that.
Really?
That you are in control of the ride?
Part of the thrill was the danger involved. People, park officials would note over and over again, were often responsible for their own injuries, and park attendees tended to agree with them. Interviewed by the Herald in 1982, one person said he had more concerns about driving on the Long Island Expressway to get to the park than about going on any of the rides. People continue to use the wave pool, too. You know, said a park attendee, if somebody jumps in and can't swim, that's their problem.
What the fuck? It's really telling the difference in time. I mean, I know it's only like 30-some years, but Jesus Christ. It's on you.
Oh, so what? It's the park's fault because you jump in and you can't swim?
Why was he drowning?
Hey, stupid.
Why was he drowning?
Why don't you get out of the water then?
Look, you can't take the heat. Get out of the kitchen.
Oh,
You can't swim. Get out of the wave pool.
Oh, I died because I don't know how to swim. You stupid idiot.
What am I supposed to do? Lifeguard doesn't mean that.
Almost any ride, from the water slides to the dune buggies, was capable of dealing some serious pain. Greg Spunder said, the River Rapids ride was great. Underinflated and overloaded rafts would slam into walls and sharply angled concrete.
I mean, I'm sure that if I were to see it, it would look a little more tame than what I'm picturing. Cause
I don't think so.
They were supposed to.
So it's a River Rapids ride. So
Yeah.
they put in they made the cement on the side looks like jagged rocks. Not thinking that people would bash their head into it.
Geez.
So it's just cement, jagged rocks sticking out.
Yeah. Cement jagged rocks are jagged rocks.
On one of these turns, my friend's mother, as the raft literally buckled in half like a taco, flew into his knee and broke her nose.
Oh, jeez.
Blood was pouring out all over, and the lady supposedly watching for injuries looked like she couldn't give a shit.
What do you want me to do?
Hey, it's not my knee, right?
Why did you get in the river if your nose is capable of breaking?
Nice job, stupid. I recommend you not hit your nose into his knees.
Jesus Christ, she's really bleeding in this river.
Hey, I'm just thinking of Springsteen right now. He was, of course, talking about a circular ride raft, the Colorado River Ride. It was a long and winding concrete trough fashioned to look like a natural river. Opened in 1987, it was billed as a family ride by Action Park, but the trip was bumpy and sometimes violent. A group of riders could share a raft down the Colorado, which would throw riders against rocks and corners, and at points descend into a tunnel. Protruding rocks would tag unsecured riders who could not see in the darkness.
Okay, so they're putting you down a tunnel that is dark with jagged rocks that you can't see.
Yeah.
And this is a family ride?
Yeah.
Okay.
For the kids. Concussions were common because there were no helmets available to guests.
Well, you shouldn't have a ride where helmets are what we're talking about. And have you ever heard, besides whitewater rafting, do you know of any other thing and water polo? When do you have to wear helmets in the fucking water?
That's it, I think.
Yeah. Okay, well, there we go. So you're not going away on your fucking vacation with a helmet up to go down like a lazy river.
It's just amazing that anyone think you could put people into a dark tunnel with jagged rocks sticking out.
Whose idea was it? Like, there's no point in having both of those.
Great American Recreation.
There's no point in if you're gonna have jagged rocks, put some light on it. If you're gonna have it dark, don't do anything.
Or maybe just have a pussy ride. What about that?
Yeah,
where people
sure.
just go down and bounce into sponges.
Yeah, the sponge ride.
This is some fucking real Jersey shit right here, bro. Park officials were always quick to point out that the park had over 1 million visitors each year, which made the actual injury rate statistically small. Of course, those are the reported injuries. Enough injuries occurred that Action Park actually bought the town of Vernon a new ambulance or new ambulances to keep up with the injury volume.
I'm sorry, wait, they had to buy more ambulances because of Action Park?
The park purchased the ambulances for the town because there were so many injuries.
That is an amazing gift. That's like buying bandages for the anniversary to the wife that you beat. Here you go, honey. I know you're always bleeding. Yeah, because you hit me. Oh, shut up. Don't chase it back too far.
It's amazing that they weren't like, why don't you stop the thing that causes the people to get into the ambulances?
No. Let's deal with the symptom, not the disease, baby.
This isn't Pussy Park, Joe.
Yeah.
In 1987, the Herald also spoke with the director of the ER at a nearby hospital, who said 5 to 10 people were brought there daily from the park.
Well, I mean, that is shocking.
Injuries included ankle sprains, cuts, and contusions, and broken bones, with injuries most often occurring from slipping in swimming pools or cuts from water slides. He also noted that many of the injured came to the ER with alcohol on their breath.
Maybe they should just open Action Park in a hospital.
At some slides, at some water parks, you get like a thing to slide on, like when you go into the tube.
Yeah.
This was just old school, and people would get like
raw dog
fiberglass, so they would just get burns, and like everyone.
Well, the thing about fiberglass is that pain doesn't stay with you for long. Doesn't feel like Invisa needles living inside your skin for weeks.
Also, due to the alcohol consumption, there were many brawls between men in bathing suits, which led to more trips to the emergency room.
Oh, God. I honestly, I knew it was coming, but now the visualization of this place is terrible.
Oh, yeah. Now it's all together.
Hey,
fuck you, Tony. No, fuck you, Tony.
Now it's like...
No, fuck you. Hey, Tony, this guy's telling me to fuck off.
Now,
what'd you say, Tony?
Like, the ride now is getting out of the park okay. That's the ride. That's the adrenaline ride now.
One of the most famous rides at Action Park was the Alpine Slide.
Was the ambulance.
The Alpine Slide concept was simple. You sat on a sled and descended down concrete tracks using a handbrake. You control your speed, either slowly or at a speed described by a former park employee as death awaits. If you lost control of your cart on the Alpine Slide, it would simply crash through the hay bale barriers, and then you would enjoy falling down a hillside onto nasty rocks.
What?
If you went too slowly on the ride, the person behind you would ram into you. There was a slow lane and a fast lane, no helmets, and the brakes did not function.
Well, it sounds like they need helmets.
They need a lot of helmets in this place. They should hand you a helmet when you walk in the door.
I'm kind of picturing so it's kind of like bobsledding a little bit, right?
Yeah, I mean it's like
except you have no training.
It's like a cart, but it's on cement, and so you're on cement and you don't have helmets.
Yeah,
and then there's just hay.
That's already
hay bales
not good
to keep you from going through. But you would just fly through the hay bale and then roll down this hill of rocks.
Well, the hay is a nice feature.
It is a nice feature.
It's probably nice to remember that when remember the good times before the rocks.
Park EMTs would just stand at the bottom of the Alpine Slide waiting for someone to need their assistance.
Wow. I mean, that's fucked up. That's
so amazing that they just station them there instead of fixing it.
How is that? Yeah, I mean, seriously, right? Yeah, like the amount of money they're paying.
They're like,
get helmets.
What's a solution here? I don't know. Let's put some EMTs at the bottom of this thing, huh?
I don't know. Get the sick out of here fast.
They knew that it was just a matter of when and not if some poor kid would get banged up and bloodied.
Kid, so there's really...
Yeah.
So they're not enforcing the age and height requirements or the weight requirements.
Yeah.
There's no helmets.
No.
There's no control.
Right.
They're not even spacing these people apart.
No.
The only thing they seem to have a handle on is getting people to the hospital.
That's what they're on top of. Action Park goer Allison Becker said, one thing that would catch your attention was the first aid cart. Kind of like a golf cart, piloted by two zitty teens wearing oversized EMT shirts. The cart would inevitably be seen looping through the trails, grass, and little forest that surrounded the park. But when you saw it, you wouldn't see a kid with a scraped knee. You'd see a guy holding a blood-soaked towel on a huge head wound.
Oh, my God.
You'd see a gash the size of a big gulp on someone's leg. Blood, blood, blood. All I remember was blood.
Also, real quick, it is great that this person, the only thing they can relate a huge gash to is a big gulp. They're like, a gash I mean, there's so many things you can say there. Instead, they're like, a gash the size of the biggest soda you've ever seen.
Like a 64-ounce bucket of soda is what I'm talking about.
It had you had to cut the size of the base of a 40-ounce.
Jesus Christ. The Alpine slide was responsible for Action Park's first death.
Whoa.
That of a 19-year-old park employee in 1980. A malfunction caused a wheeled sled to derail from its cement track after it failed to properly negotiate a curve. The victim was thrown from the car down an embankment. He sustained a fatal head injury when his head struck a rock.
Why are rocks,
It's a water park. There's rocks.
Yeah, exactly.
When you go to water parks, aren't there a lot of rocks around?
Yeah, but you're not riding it. Well, first of all, no. And second of all, the fact that they're creating jagged rocks, but then they also won't get rid of rocks.
Right.
I mean, just get rid of the rocks.
Well, it's hard.
It's not hard.
No, you got to pick them
It'd probably take a week.
You got to move them.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It'd probably take about a week.
Yeah, but no. At least 14,
you had nothing else to say after that, just for the record.
At least 14 fractures and 26 head injuries caused by the slide were reported between 1984 and 1985. That's just 1 year. Yeah, and yet the Alpine slide was called the park's most popular ride in the 1986 New Jersey Herald article, one that a park official declared, quote, the safest ride there is, noting that a 90-year-old grandmother and mothers with babies on their laps have taken a ride on it.
I mean, what is he, lying or just an asshole?
Yeah, he's totally
okay.
bullshitting. The same article said that the slide was responsible for more accidents, the majority of lawsuits, and 40% of citations against the park.
I mean, get out of this relationship, Action Park.
The tidal pool was called the Grave Pool by employees. It was a huge freshwater pool, 100 by 250 feet long and 8 feet deep, that could hold up to 1,000 people.
1,000 people?
Yeah. 4 large fans forced air into the pool and created waves, which could reach a height of 40 inches.
1,000 people.
So that's what? Almost 4 feet?
Yeah.
That's
Just a little,
and an odd, a little bit. The waves were generated for 20 minutes at a time with 10-minute breaks in between.
10-minute where you could get the dead out of there.
Whew. Oh, God. Scrape out the dead.
Just scrape the dead out.
A big problem with the pool was that many of its users were not good swimmers. Action Park attracts many people from urban areas who have few chances to swim and frequently must be rescued from the water, said one park official.
So they don't have a chance to swim much, so they decide they'll go into the craziest conditions possible to learn.
Because they look at it and they don't think it's that deep, and then they get in it and they're overwhelmed.
Well, because it seems like Action Park isn't loose with the info.
No, they do not.
They don't really tell you much.
They don't tell people anything, as it were.
No, they're like cigarettes. They're like, they're at the point now where they're like, well, we don't see any connection.
He said they don't know how to swim and they jump right into the water. Even good swimmers would forget that the freshwater waves were not buoyant like waves in the ocean, so they would have to work harder to stay afloat. Crowded swimming conditions meant that people would bash into each other, the sides of the pool, or ladders as they tried to get out of the water while the waves were on. Some people would simply sink to the bottom.
seemingly unaware that the pool's depth dropped down a level as you move from one end to the other. Lifeguards at the tidal wave pool often would save 30 people a day.
Oh, my God.
Whereas your average lifeguard at a pool or lake might rescue 1 or 2 people in an entire summer.
Well, there's the action is being the lifeguard. I mean, I'm really just picturing that, and it sounds very awful and graphic.
Yeah.
Like, I just imagine.
It's insane.
It's like when you go to a concert, and like people are getting a little rowdy, and you're like, it's not a good area. Now put that in water. An element that you have less control of than land.
2 people drowned in the grave pool, a 15-year-old boy in 1982 and an 18-year-old man in 1987. Many more came close, despite the fact that 12 Red Cross certified lifeguards were stationed at the pool at all times.
Oh, my God.
The kayak ride allowed people to paddle tiny boats through white water. It used submerged electric fans to agitate the water above.
Okay.
Often, the kayaks got stuck or tipped over, and people had to get out of them to remedy the situation. The ride was not very popular. In the summer of 1982, a 27-year-old man from Long Island got out of his kayak, and while he was trying to get back in, he stepped near an exposed wire that was under the water.
Oh, God.
He was taken to a hospital in New York State where he was pronounced dead.
What?
2 of his family members were also electrocuted but lived.
Electrocuted?
Park officials denied that he was electrocuted.
What?
But the coroner's report proved the man died from cardiac arrest due to electrical shock. Action Park was quick to point out that the victim didn't have any burns.
What is that? What is the point of that?
The coroner said you don't have burns when you're in the water like that. When you're wet, you're a dead ringer for good electrical shock.
I mean,
a wiring defect described as either a nick or a 7-inch gash, depending on whose account.
A nick or a big gulp.
No, it's just a nick. Right, it's a 7-inch nick. Yeah, but a nick.
It's like a 20-ounce Pepsi.
Anyway, that was the cause of the electrocution.
The
ride was drained for investigation and never opened again because, as a park official told the New Jersey Herald at the time, people will always be intimidated by it now.
Aw, poor Action Park. Aw.
There was the Cannonball Loop.
Was this where you just shoot cannonballs at people?
In 1985, the great American recreation executive who founded the park, Eugene Mulvihill, drove up plans on a napkin during lunch.
Hey, that's how you want to draw them up.
That's the best
safety,
way.
Safety first. Have a couple Manhattans and then figure out your park.
Hey, what if there's something that goes like this?
Huh?
That's just a swirl, buddy. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I can write this lunch off now officially.
It was a radical new water slide design. It was a large slide you had to climb a tall wooden ladder to get to. At the end, it had a complete vertical loop like one would commonly find on a roller coaster.
Okay.
So it just goes around.
Oh, shit.
Up and around.
So it's like the skateboard ramps where it's like an O in the air, really.
It's like an O. In a water. Now think about what the water does in an O.
I honestly can't. I mean, my guess is that it doesn't make it to the top of the O. My guess is
if someone drew that on a napkin, I'd be like, right, but the water can't do that.
Yeah, I'd be like, man, this sounds great. Fucking do this. I'll go first.
Employees said they were given $100 bills to test it. A rider was reported to have gotten stuck.
This should be called Jackass the Park. I mean,
hey, you gonna do the loop? No, I'm putting a little toy car up my ass.
Okay.
A rider was reported to have gotten stuck at the top of the loop due to insufficient water pressure, and a hatch had to be built at the bottom of the slope to allow for future extractions. Debris.
How big? This is a huge loop.
It's huge. It's not a huge loop. It's big, but it's not huge. It's
and so people are just getting trapped at the top of the loop.
Yeah,
and they had to make a hatch so that they could remove these people.
Out. Yeah. Let me see if I can find it. It's not a gigantic thing. It's a small loop. That. Well, I'll just cut this part out.
Okay.
Action Park. Okay, so there it
Oh,
is.
okay, that's
Now you're
kind of what
looking
I
at
was
it.
picturing.
So the loop is kind of small at the bottom, and it's really high up where you start.
Yeah.
And then you come out and you're either dead or alive.
Yeah, it definitely looks I can understand why on a napkin you like what you see. In reality, it's a little concerning.
It's definitely a napkin design.
It's a very sharp upturn too.
Yeah.
It's not like you're just cruising for a little while.
Debris and rocks would collect at the bottom of the loop, creating a sandpaper-like surface. Now that makes sense, right? Because it's a loop. So obviously that stuff can't just wash out because it can't get up.
Yeah.
So it just stays at the bottom.
I'm still sort of troubled by the fact that there's a salt, like a sandpaper part of this ride.
Yeah, that's the nice part.
The strange part.
Those who dared make the plunge suffered terrible cases of slide rash. The Cannonball Loop was only open for a month.
And honestly, in action park time, it's like an hour.
It really is.
Yeah.
That was in 1985, before the state's advisory board on carnival amusement ride safety ordered it closed due to mounting injuries.
I mean, think about there being a carnival safety board.
Yeah.
Having to say no. I mean, if you've ever been to a carnival,
yeah,
I mean,
it's
very unsafe.
Everything goes.
Yeah.
One worker told a local newspaper that, quote, there were too many bloody noses and back injuries from the ride.
Oh, God.
Chris Gethard had this to say about a ride. When I was on this Cannonball Falls slide, now this isn't the Cannonball Loop, this is Cannonball Falls.
Right.
I was at the top of a hill. It seemed normal. There was no warning that halfway down the ride I would be shot into a pitch black tube. This was incredibly daunting. It became even worse when the tube opened back up, only when it emerged sticking out from the face of a cliff. This slide sent unsuspecting riders shooting out of a cliff face some 2 stories above the water.
2 stories? 2 stories?
With absolutely no warning. It was just high enough that you had time to think and panic about your situation. Rider after rider, myself included, would scream in terror before hitting the surface of the slimy green water with a sickening slap. After this, the victims of the ride would gather at the edge of the pool to watch others suffer the same fate. It was like all the victims of a car wreck gathering at Dead Man's Curve to watch the next car smash into the median.
It sounds like Fugitive the Ride. 2 stories is a tremendous drop.
Yes.
To not tell anybody.
Yes. The Tarzan swing led to the 3rd death at Action Park.
I mean, it's really crazy that a statement like that is almost going unnoticed to me at this point.
This was a steel arch hanging from a 20-foot-long cable over a spring-fed pool.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a pool that's spring-fed.
Spring-fed.
So it's not warm.
Okay.
Patrons waited in long lines for the chance to hang from it, swing out over the water, and then jump off as the beam reached its height. The pool was surrounded by New Jersey natives who would scream obscenities at those hanging from the beam.
Well,
Fuck you, Tony, you piece of fucking shit!
So wait, what are we looking at exactly? It's like, is it just the swing? Okay.
It's a beam, right?
Okay.
It's like an arching beam that swings out. It's on a cable,
I get you.
And when it gets like at its height, then you leap off.
So it's like a 2x4 you jump off of,
Kind
essentially,
of,
when you
kind
are
of.
at your peak height.
It's a good idea.
Okay.
Some people hung on.
By the way, it's a terrible idea.
It's a terrific idea. Some people hung on too long and scraped their toes on the concrete on the far side. So if you went all the way across, you would get hurt.
These rides are putting way too much on the people.
Well, I would think if you're making a ride and there's a swinging thing, on the other end of the swinging thing, you would make it so people wouldn't hit something.
Yeah, like pads. And you'd also tell people things.
Others used the ride properly, but were then surprised to find out the water underneath was very cold. It was cold enough, in fact, that lifeguards sometimes had to rescue people who were so surprised by the sudden chill that they could not swim out of the pool.
I don't understand why cold water. Look, there's a lot of red flags here,
right.
But cold water.
Well, there's a natural spring there, so
just fuck your Action Park. The sell here is not the sell here is not that you can bottle water at your pool. The sell here is that you'll get in the water and you'll maybe leave without going to the hospital.
Maybe you don't like nature. Maybe that's
no. I do like nature. Action Park is not an extension of nature.
Cold water can shock the muscles, preventing basic motor functionality, like swimming. In the most extreme cases, cold water shock can cause cardiac arrest, and that's exactly what happened to a man who died in the pool in 1984.
So everybody's dying at Action Park. If you just took this dial and just a couple ticks, this is a horror film.
Everybody's dying at
Action Park. Hey, come on down this weekend. Bring your whole family. You're all going to die down at Action Park.
50% of you'll make it back.
All right.
By the mid-1980s, the park had developed a reputation for its unsafe rides.
Why?
Rumors swirled of cut corners with maintenance and safety enforcement.
I won't hear of it.
People still came by the droves.
Of course, because we're fucking morons.
It wasn't just about the water. There was the Aerodrome, the first and only of its kind in the world.
I'm also going to guess the last.
The German-designed Aerodrome made its international debut at Action Park in 1987. It was basically a first-generation vertical wind tunnel. It could reach updraft speeds approaching 100 miles an hour. Partygoers would wear a special skydiving suit and skydive over an air column powered by a 650 horsepower fan.
But this is actually still a thing. I'm sure it's far safer now.
Flights were less than a minute long and limited to a maximum of 6 or 7 feet above the ground. There was stadium seating all around the outside, which allowed family members and friends to watch you get hurt. The Aerodrome led to broken legs and arms and shoulder and wrist dislocations.
Oh, God.
One rider instinctively tried to break his fall by extending his arm, which caused his shoulder dislocation, severed nerves, and near-permanent paralysis of the arm. Okay, so, yes, they do it now, but they slowly reduce the speed?
No,
this would just cut off the fan and you would drop.
And they I mean, I've been in them. There's, like, a tremendous amount of padding. There's, like, a professional there who's going to, like, help you in and out. Yeah, it's not just like, yo, jump into the fan. Unplug it. Get out.
Plug it.
Yo, plug it back in. Get in there.
Roll them out.
Unplug it. Get out.
Of course, the tidal pool was the most dangerous as far as fatalities were concerned.
Yeah, of course.
A 20-year-old from Brooklyn drowned in the pool in 1984, then an 18-year-old in 1987, that brought the grave pool's death count to 3 and the park's death count to 6 in 7 years. After the 1987 drowning, the New Jersey Herald reported that the tidal pool was not classified as a ride, but as a pool by the state. Under state regulations at the time, that meant that the company merely had to keep the water clean and make sure that certified lifeguards were on duty.
I don't even think they did that, but keep going.
Eventually, the park just started killing people who were on their way to enjoy a day of fun, like a crazy Stephen King novel.
Yeah.
On July 26, 1992, 6 were killed and 47 injured when a bus traveling to Action Park overturned and burst into flames.
And that is terrible.
But it's a Stephen King novel at this point.
But it also might just be a blessing in disguise for one person on that bus. I mean, at this fucking rate. Would you go somewhere where someone was dying every year?
No.
No.
Of course, there were endless lawsuits and settlements. They eventually caught up with Action Park. By the 1990s, Americans were spending less on insurance, and insurance premiums were suffocating the business. Years of negative headlines finally eroded the park's traffic. The most dangerous rides disappeared, closed as part of legal settlements or an inability to obtain insurance coverage. Great American Recreation, as its legal troubles would suggest, was accused of cutting corners to maximize profits. For example, it was accused of building rides cheaply, sporadically maintaining many of them, and failing to renovate rides to take advantage of later safety improvements to its ideas made by other facilities. In the park's last year, it kept part of the ski area open despite being unable to obtain liability insurance.
Well, what the fuck do they care at this point? I mean, it's basically SeaWorld for humans, so what the fuck do they care?
Hey, welcome, Blackfish. What?
Hey, get in the tank. You live here now.
What? Great American Recreation was forced into bankruptcy in 1995, but Action Park would quietly limp along for another year. When Action Park's 1996 season ended on Labor Day, everyone expected it to reopen on Memorial Day weekend the following year, but when the spring of 1997 rolled around, the park did not reopen. The park remained closed for weeks before officials would make an announcement. It wasn't until July of 1987, Great American Recreation officially announced the park's closure. But like Michael Myers from the movie Halloween,
Oh, God.
this water park won't die.
No.
Less than
Die!
less than a year later, the property was sold to a Canadian destination resort developer. The company renovated the grounds and reopened it promptly in 1998 as Mountain Creek Water Park. Mountain Creek announced their opening with the slogan, "Action Park is back!" But the new company was much more responsible. The Alpine Slide and Motor World were shut down. Most of the closed Action Park rides were replaced with newer, safer water slides. The water park did reasonably well as it neared the year 2000, but then attendance began to drop again. By 2008, the owners were looking to sell, which they did in 2010. The park was sold to an investor group led by a man named Eugene Mulvihill. Eugene was the former Great American Recreation executive who originally founded Action Park in the 1970s.
All right, good, great.
We want all the thrills and none of the spills, says Andrew Mulvihill, CEO of Mountain Creek, which owns the facility. When we surveyed people, they knew the Action Park name better than Mountain Creek, he says. We decided to take the plunge and re-embrace the name. The new Action Park has old favorite attractions, plus the Zero-G ride, a 100-foot looping water slide reminiscent of Action Park's famous Cannonball Loop, which Mulvihill's late father is designed on the napkin. The new loop was built by a renowned water slide designer.
Don't you think you should this is what you should tell people before they get on that ride. This ride was designed on a napkin. Want to go? Yeah? Go ahead, buddy. What about you? No? All right, there's the emergency hatch. Get the fuck out. Also, around one of the turns, it's going to feel like 90 cats are licking your ass.
The world is a different place, said President Bill Brennan. The new rides we're building are meticulously engineered.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Action Park is back.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's back, baby. It is back. Enjoy that Action Park.
The Canadian years remind me of when Dick Enberg took over SNL from Lorne Michaels for a little while. Just a different vibe. And you know what I mean? It just had to go back to its dangerous roots.
It's all good.
And there's no doubt when we ask Vicky about Action Park.
Oh, she'll know.
She'll be like, I loved Action Park. Shout out to Vicky Pezza on the ones and twos.
Oh, girl.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank me.
Oh, yes, it's Gareth. Not Gary, stop it. Gare Force, listen, I've got a bunch of stand-up shows coming up, and I want to see you there. We can hug. I will be at Rooster Teeth Feathers in Sunnyvale, California, April 18th, 19th, and 20th. Then I will be in Chattanooga, Tennessee, June 18th. I will be at Nashville, at Zanies, June 19th. I will be in Huntsville, Alabama, June 20th. I'll be in Atlanta, Georgia, June 21st, June 22nd. Then I will be in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, June 26th. Then I'll be in East Providence, Rhode Island, June 27th. Then I'll be in Boston, Massachusetts, and Boston, June 28th. That's 2 shows. I will be in Springfield, Massachusetts, June 29th, Rochester, New York, June 30th, and then July 5th through the 6th. Canada, I've heard your prayers, and I will answer them. I will be in Toronto. So come join me at the Comedy Bar. Go to GarethReynolds.com for tickets and information. That's right, Gare Force. We're calling you up. It's the big time. The big leagues. This went poorly.
Attention all homeowners. This is Advanced Exteriors reminding you not to wait any longer to repair your roof from last year's storms. Your insurance company has a deadline, and missing it could mean missing out on thousands of dollars in benefits. Don't panic. Call Advanced Exteriors today. They're insurance experts that will help you handle your claim start to finish. Schedule your free inspection now and start your insurance claim before it's too late. Visit AdvancedExteriors.com. Remember, there's a backlog, so act fast. Advanced Exteriors providing you peace of mind.